You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And there is some breaking news about the revocation of the appointment of certain DCEs by the president, and in a letter under the hand of the president himself. That tells you how serious it is. Dated February 2, 2024. That is a letter of revocation of the appointment of certain DCs that you can see. So as we scroll up, you see the names of those who have lost their DCE positions. But whilst that scrolls up, I'm going to be sharing with you those who have been appointed to replace those, nominated to replace those who have been kicked out. For Ahafwano North, Prince Doma Amwa, Amansia West, Oscar Asare Ando, Dr. Amwating Augustine Kwesi for Nkoranza South, Mohammed Haruna for Pru East, Samson Bolu for Sene East, Moses Ahemfo Aqua for Ewutu Senya West, Nana Kweku Aban for Chifo Heman Lower Dentra, Mavis Opoku Akono for Esiojaman, Paddy Amponsa Douglas for Etiwa West, Professor Edward Asante Entry for New Jabing North, Owusu Arthur Emmanuel for Nsawam Adwejiri, Ebenezer Doku for Adentan, Ambrose Chega for Ga Central, Deborah Ampofo for Ga East, Michael Dankwa for Wejagbawe, Isa Chemsi Abdullahi for East Mamprusi, Bulato Kweku Patrick for Krachi West, Felix Owusu Jima for Nkwanta South, Jacob K. Dumakwawe for Sola Tuna Kalba, Agana Albert Akuri for Bolga East. The rest are Anania Daniel Atampuba for Boku West, Mohammed Foka for Sisala West, Zu Walter Wogbamesi for Adaklu, Innocent Linford Kwesi Tete for Southton, Alex Beidu for Amenfi Central, and Eric Essien for Nzama East. So these nominations are also under the hand of the president and copied to the minister for the ministry, local government and decentralization, rural development, to the vice president and the chief of staff. All right, so that's the breaking news for you. Could this be fallout from what has just happened in the last 2 weeks or so? Anyway, interesting. Will that also be a sign that for the ministerial thing, something should be expected, as has been rumored over a period now? Let's see how that goes. Now, let's talk about whether or not elections should be held in November. A very good idea, because if there is a runoff, yes, it's going to be such a big pressure on all of us. But is it the right time to do so? That, I suppose, is the question. And Joseph Dindiokwenka is with us. He's still here in the studio. We have Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, Deputy National Director of Elections of the NDC. Habib Yakubu is Director of Elections of the CPP, joining us by Zoom. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you. Right. So I suppose we can start with you. What's your view? What's it? Should it be done? Should it not be done? And if it should be done for 2024?
Well, Samson, you see, the posturing of the current Electoral Commission doesn't convince any ordinary Ghanaian or right-thinking Ghanaian to think that they can move the election from December to November. Now, you have lost some 7 years down the lane. Don't forget, in 2015, we, the political parties, put together a proposal and sent to the Electoral Commission that there's a need to move the election from December to November. Now, through the AG, the Attorney General, the Electoral Commission moved the motion in Parliament. And that was in June 2016. The NPP minority then, 95 of them, overwhelmingly voted against it in Parliament. It lost.
That one, it was just some disagreements that occurred, right? Because we understood that all the parties had agreed that it was going to be passed. That's why Maretta Brew came to Parliament to move it.
And that's why we're surprised.
And then all of a sudden,
they went against it completely.
Yes,
in fact,
but it means that the NDC supports such a position.
Yes, that was it. But the argument they advanced then, led by the current Deputy Speaker of Parliament, first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, he said it wasn't feasible, and that looking at the nature of the election that year, it wasn't feasible for Electoral Commission to do that. So it fell short, and then that's why it couldn't be implemented. 7 years.
Do you remember that was very close to the elections?
And that was in June.
That was in June?
Yes.
Yes.
It was in June. Now, 7 years down the lane, the Electoral Commission, knowing very well that when we have this thing, what we call a runoff, there's a pressure on them, as they used to say, then they should have started the process of sensitizing Ghanaians and the political parties that in 2020, we are going to move the election from December to November. Now, they didn't do that. After 7 years down the lane, then they woke up from the slumber. Don't forget, when we went to IPAC last 2 weeks, that was the time they brought that idea. Then we asked them, which political party wrote to you demanding that this time around the election should be moved? Because it was 2020, 2016 that we, the political party, wrote to you. This time around, you are telling us that you are only bringing back what the political party say. No, that thing did not exist again because it fell short. The political party shot it in Parliament. The same NPP people who are moving this. So we want to find out which political party now wrote to you as of now. So it means it is not
the AEC Act because a political party is requesting what is ideal.
Yes, that's what they told us at the IPAC, that what they are bringing was the proposals that you, the political parties,
yes, so I'm saying
made.
that you are saying that they cannot on their own, so motu, raise the issue unless a political party kickstarts the situation, the process.
Of course, well, that's what we are saying. The argument was started by them. And the argument was that it was the political parties who muted this idea. And we said, no, the one we muted fell short in Parliament because the constitutional...
Tell me seriously that this is not the reason you oppose it.
That is not the reason. Our reason was that, look, if you look at the DLE, the District Assembly election, that was conducted just recently, it was too shambolic. In fact, for a very long time, we've never heard of shortage of ballot papers in polling stations. It was in this current District Assembly election that we heard of ballot shortages. To the extent people went to vote and their names were not in the register. So we raised the issue about the register, the 2023 register, that there's a lot of problems. There are issues that we need to address in the register. Because the register you gave to us and we gave to our people in the constituency, when they check, and even voters who went to the polling station couldn't find their names at the polling station. It's unprecedented. And to the extent some regions, Ashanti and Eastern region, majority of the districts could not vote on the day of the voting, the 19th December. They had to postpone their vote because of logistical problems and all that. So with all this baggage you are having, and don't forget, this year they are going to do another registration, limited registration. So we asked them, at the time we're at the IPAC meeting, the Electoral Commission did not have the roadmap for the election 2024. They have not given us the roadmap. They have not given us their program of activities. We asked of it, and they told us that at the next IPAD meeting, they were going to make it available. The next IPAD meeting we went, up to now, they didn't have that. Just yesterday, that we saw on Daily Graphic paper, advertising for people to apply to become returning officers for the election 2020. Where did they get this from? When you have not given the major political parties your program of activities that we are going to conduct. So, invariably, that's why I said they are posturing. Tell us that they are not even ready. For me, even the December 2024.
Just hold on a minute. And Yakubu, thanks for joining us.
Much something, and thank you.
Good. So, yes, as we understand, the overwhelming consensus at the IPAC meeting was that the Electoral Commission's major electoral reforms must be implemented in 2028 and not in 2024. Is that the understanding you got, including for moving the elections into November 2024?
No. With regards to the elections being moved, the date being moved to November 7, 2024, I think there was a unanimous decision from the various political parties as stakeholders. We did not agree to that. We, in particular, the CPP, were very clear that the timeline is very short. There's no broader consultation from the Electoral Commission. If actually the Electoral Commission had this thing was engaged the Electoral Commission to finish the thing, like Dr. just said. But after finishing, what happened? The Electoral Commission didn't go to sleep, and if they didn't go to sleep, why actually signaling that within an election year? When the political parties have already drawn out their program. We, for instance, I guess we did do some exercise at the electoral areas and all those places. So, looking at November 7th, we said it was a challenging time for us to actually abide by. If we can stick to December, they can decide to shift the date 7th to any other particular date. For some people were raised regarding religious matters and other things, that okay, they can decide to pick a day in December, if not necessarily 7th December.
Habib.
So we're clear on that.
Right, Habib.
Yes.
If the Electoral Commission has what it takes to get the November, calendar, to get a voting in November done by law, what is your problem? Why your opposition? If the EC says it's in November, are you saying there's not enough time for publicity for people to get used to the fact that we'll vote earlier than December? Is that a problem? What exactly is the problem?
Well, the problem is, one, is that there's lack of broader consultation. Secondly, the Electoral Commission itself, we as stakeholders are not privy to their calendar as we speak. There are lots of issues that have to be dealt with in terms of reopening of voter registration for people who did not get a chance to start. The activities of the Electoral Commission is not known down to us as various political parties. We don't also know the capacity of the Electoral Commission. No, there are machines that were used in the last. That's where we are so many challenges with things. So what is the Electoral Commission telling us without letting us know precisely what their capacity is?
Really? Okay, hold on for me. The NDC's Director of Elections, that's Dr. Mani Boama, right?
Very well.
He said the reasons why this should not be done now, not that it should never be done, include that the EC has waited for 7 years to pass since 2016 when it should have happened. That's something you have canvassed. He says that at the IPAC, if the political parties had accepted the November proposal, that would have meant that Ghana has only 8 months clear to prepare for the elections. 8 months, 9 months, really, is it not really 8 months that's preparation that we have? He says the Electoral Commission's calendar of programs and activities for the upcoming elections is not yet known and it's not ready, so it's not released. Then he insists that there ought to be sufficient stakeholder consultation. Why did the EC not introduce these discussions, adjustments, and amendments in 2017, 2018, 2019, or better still, why not after the 2020 elections? Then it's bringing it up now. It says you don't wait for an election year to introduce major electoral reforms, a year in which the EC has so much to do after an abysmal district level elections characterized by postponements and shortage of ballot papers, as has just been raised by Rashid. Also, the limited registration, he says, was chaotic. Then there's supposed to be another voters registration exercise that must take place this year. Because EC's calendar of activity is not ready, we are all left guessing, it says. Then frequent breakdown of EC equipment and network during limited registration exercise in 2023. And among the final points, he says that besides to vote for MPs in November, the EC needs amendment of the 1992 Constitution, according to Article 112, Clause 4. This amendment of a non-entrenched clause requires 2/3 of MPs to pass. Meanwhile, the MPs themselves must be in their constituencies for some part of this year campaigning, facilitating the registration of voters when the EC finally decides, not to think of the duration of the process and other germane issues the EC must bring to the front burner. So they want the EC to immediately release the calendar of activities for 2024 and then focus on the urgent important activities for December 2024 and perhaps push this to the next time. Kwenka, reasonable?
Well, you see, it is something that I think we've not looked at critically. I just want to draw the public's attention to it. And I want to find out, I'm very curious on this one. I've done a very keen observation on this matter, and I want to ask a lot of questions that may sound rhetorical. In 2012, do you recall that constituencies were created 3 months to elections? 3 months to elections. My constituency was one, Timpani. Major decision. 3 months to election, the Electoral Commission created constituencies. Again, if you look at the 2016 issue that we are talking about, 6 months to elections, they wanted a change in the date. But something, watch. In 2012, when that proposal for the creation was made, it was led by the then majority. And they supported the EC. It succeeded. In 2016, in June, very late, when the proposal for the 7th November was made, it was made in June. And again, the majority at that time supported it. I get the trend. I'm giving this analogy. Now, the current proposal, I'm not too sure. But you realize that straight away, those who were the majority at that time, when it was 6 months to elections and 3 months to elections and major decisions were taken, today are saying 8 months is too small. When 3 and 6 months at that time was considered sufficient. Is there anything that ruling parties benefit from these short dates that opposition will not get? That is the reason for this. Because if 9 months is insufficient, then certainly 6 months and 3 months should not be. That's even worse. But you supported that at that time. So is there any reason for this? That when you are in power and the Electoral Commission brings it, however short it is or inconvenient, you do approve of it. When you are not, then you are not in support, and etc. You see, for me, I am 100% in support of the decision to have elections held in November. But when is the decision of Ghanaians? When that should be implemented is the decision of all Ghanaians.
No, we want to hear from you.
You know,
implementing it for this year is not feasible.
If we have 9 months, 8 clear months, I think what I will buy a little from what my brother has said is the fact that they need to come out with their timetable, the EC. If they had done that and convinced all of us, and remember even that as we speak, it is mandatory by law and by decision of the Supreme Court that they should create SAL this year.
Yeah.
It's mandatory. And the fact is, we don't know whether they intend to create only SAL or they have intention for others. Again, if we wait till last minute and then we come up with another controversies.
They have debunked rumors that they intend to create any more beyond SAL.
No, I'm saying this because I'm saying this because I don't know whether I mean this rumor you're talking about, in all intent and purposes, will come to fruition, because look, they can change their mind at any time and decide they're going to create more anyway, and it is within their mandate so to do. And as I indicated to you in 2012, it was done. Look, we elected our parliamentary candidate for Garu Timpani, and then he was campaigning. And 3 months election, then Timpani was created. I remember that was when your constituency was equally created, Bolga East. You know, I mean, wait till last minutes. Again, I agree with the argument that the reforms could have been done earlier. That argument makes sense to me and convinces me, because last year we could have initiated it. 2 years ago we could have initiated it. At times the election was far ahead, so that there are no controversies, and then we resolve it long ahead of time and etc. But we don't bring it into a crowded electoral calendar, you know, especially where there's no consensus. Because my fear is where there's no consensus, you go ahead to implement anything, it goes against the party. They raised alarm here and there, there's fury, But we want to keep everybody together as a nation. So consensus building should be the watchword. But for me, I'm not against the 7th November.
And you think
because I think that my basic reason is we've had experience before. The transition. You go to this election in anticipation that somebody could win one touch.
You answer me that it is possible or it's not. Is it doable?
It's doable.
It's doable.
It's doable.
But there can be the amendment processes.
This should be initiated immediately, so that we can have it done within the next 1-2 months. All that is done, and we still have some clear months so that people can readjust to their programs. But you don't wait till last minute and come and impose it on people. They will raise questions and think that you are trying to connive with a particular political party to favor them, and etc. And when those questions are raised, then it brings to question the legitimacy of the outcomes itself. Okay. So I'm just pleading that IPAC should again meet immediately and see how they could actually resolve unanimously. But Samson, say it and say it loud. If there is a runoff, you go to do the election around 28th, 29th of December, and you have 7 or 8 days within which to do a transition. That is practically impossible. Practically impossible. So it makes sense to have November 7th, but the discussion should begin
Article
now.
112 clause 4 says that subject to clause 2 of Article 113 of this constitution, a general election of members of parliament shall be held within 30 days before the expiration of the period specified in clause 1 of that article, and a session of parliament shall be appointed to commence within 14 days after the expiration of that period. This is the provision Dr. Wani Boama says will have to be amended to allow for the process. This is where time allows us. Thank you very much. So as far as the NDC is concerned, you support it in principle, but not this time.
Yes, let me add this for want of time. Yes, we are strongly against the implementation of such a policy this year. In fact, at IPAC, all the political parties, and even Dr. Bosman Asari himself, agreed, and even his statement, that in principle, all the political parties agreed that such a proposal should be implemented in 2028,
right, and
not 2024.
Okay.
Because I just want my brother to know that in 2016, the process started in 2015, not 2016.
All right.
It started in 2015,
and then
the vote was taken in June.
Okay.
So it wasn't in June that the process started. It was
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tanko Rashid. Computer. Is that your name?
Yes, Computer is my name. It's my official name.
Computer.
Yes, and then
I've been thinking
a lot of people thinking that it's an alias, but it's not alias.
It's not.
It's a full name. It's Tanko Rashid Computer. That is my official name.
Okay, and this computer means the computer we know.
Yes, the computer you know.
All right, Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer. He's the Deputy National Director of Elections of the NDC. Joined us on Zoom has been Habib Yakubu. He is Director of Elections for the CPP. And also here in the studio is Joseph Dindiok Kwenka, who is former Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Unfortunately, we lost Dr. Emmanuel Akwete and couldn't raise him back. Thank you also very much. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini, and my outfit, as always, is by Habil's Couture. You can call them 0200 84 1988, 0200 84 1988. You find them at Ajiringano Gate, East Legon. Have a good afternoon. This has been Newsfile.